Melanie, very good morning to you.
Morning.
I watched David Lammy on Sky yesterday with Trevor Phillips. You probably saw it, where he was asked, isn't it a bit like a colony if you decide to recognise a state for which you only can suggest a government of one kind or another? He couldn't answer the question, are you only recognising it if it's got a government you like, or are you recognising it despite whatever government it's got?
Yeah, well, the whole thing is completely nonsensical. This state doesn't exist just because a number of countries, including apparently the United Kingdom government, wants it to exist, doesn't mean it becomes in existence. Certain conditions have to be met in terms of international law. They have not been met. Anybody with half a brain can see this thing doesn't exist. And the hapless Lammy, to whom you've just referred, on that very interview with Trevor Phillips, made a complete idiot of himself because he actually admitted that just recognizing a state of Palestine, he said, of course it doesn't bring it into existence. Well, if it's not in existence, then what are they recognizing?
Well, there's no logic, is there?
No, they're recognizing an idea. They're recognizing a wish. I mean, the whole thing is would be farcical, would be comical, were it not so serious. It is, as your viewers have just said, a reward for terrorism.
Yes.
Hamas has actually said, thank you. It has said, this is the fruits of October 7. Can you believe this? That Britain's Labour government under Sir Keir Starmer has delivered to Hamas a reward for the most barbaric and biggest single atrocity against the Jewish people since the Holocaust. What an appalling disgrace for a British Prime Minister.
Yeah. And what I've been saying this morning as well, it doesn't appear to have been any kind of public conversation about it. There's been no debate in Parliament, as far as I'm aware. I haven't really even read a piece written by a cabinet minister in defence of this particular position. There's been no intellectual conversation about it whatsoever.
Well, no, I think we can all see broadly what's happened. You know, Sir Keir Starmer under enormous pressure from the Gaza first tendency, which is growing, unfortunately. I mean, as if Gaza has anything to do with the interests of the British people, of whom he is the Prime Minister. But anyway, there's an enormous pressure on him personally from his hard left, who would depose him in a heartbeat over this. There's enormous pressure from the rising Muslim bloc, the rising power of the Muslim bloc, both inside the Labour Party and in the country. So those two things have been great pressure on him that has been building for some time. And I think that what possibly has spooked him completely into this precipitate action was Emmanuel Macron, the French president, saying that he was going to do this. And I think that probably Sir Keir Starmer thought, well, I'm going to be left, you know, looking even more weak or I'm going to be in an even weaker position in terms of these people who want my head if I don't go along with this. Plus, I'm afraid to say, I think that Starmer himself, you know, he's obsessed by what he calls the two-state solution, which involves a state of Palestine being created. And he believes that Israel is dragging its feet over this. Well, of course, Israel's dragging its feet over this. There cannot be a state of Palestine because the only purpose of such a state, as the Palestinian leadership has said time and again, often in Arabic, but it is said time and again, the only purpose is a stage. It's part of what they call a strategy of stages to destroy Israel. I mean, you know, I'm speaking to you from Jerusalem, just sort of down the road, sort of between you and sort of Kilburn, as it were, or, you know, Primrose Hill, is the area which would be designated as part of Palestine, from which it is eminently possible to fire missiles straight at the Israeli capital, straight at Ben Gurion Airport, straight at most of Israel. Indeed, a missile attack was thwarted from those areas in the last few days. A missile attack. Can you imagine a missile being fired at you where you're sitting from, say, Primrose Hill? That's what's being faced here now. That's what Keir Starmer wants to bring into existence permanently. What is the man thinking of? He is either delusional or he's evil.
Right. And certainly it would appear that he doesn't understand the region either, because there's nobody in Palestine who wants a two-state solution. As you say, they're not interested in a two-state solution. So these kind of, you know, do-gooders in the West who say, oh, the two-state solution must be the way forward. Well, nobody wants it.
No, the only people who want it are the people who want Israel gone, and it's being used. This whole thing of Palestine recognition, which is now running across the world in country after country, that has been is part of a really wildly successful campaign of demonization and delegitimization of Israel going on for many years now, spearheaded by the Palestinian Authority, probably backed by other countries such as, for example, Iran, which has the same kind of aim in mind. But certainly the Palestinian Authority has been going on about this, this tack for a very long time. In other words, the Palestinian Authority long ago decided that it could not defeat Israel by conventional military means, and it probably couldn't defeat it by terrorism, although it's having a good go at it the whole time. And every day there are attacks and thwarted attacks going on. So the Palestinian Authority decided that it could achieve its ends through the diplomatic route. It understood that there was a weakness in the West. They hate Israel. They don't like the Jews, and it could play on that. And it could play on international law, which is regarded in the West as a kind of religion. Sir Keir Starmer is, above all, a human rights lawyer. And the Palestinian Authority understood that they could deploy this. They could deploy it through the UN, which is run by or answerable to countries which want Israel gone, and through the UN, which purports to be, the global arbiter of peace and justice, for goodness sake. It's the opposite. It is institutionally programmed to Israel's destruction. And through its satellite agencies, its courts, its whole humanitarian apparatus, the Palestinian Authority has been using that. And recognition of Palestine is a kind of super mega stunt in order to plant in people's minds the idea that there is a state of Palestine, there should be a state of Palestine, and that the only people who are stopping this worthy endeavor is the state of Israel. But the state of Palestine has one purpose only: genocidal, to destroy Israel, to exterminate Jews. And that is what Sir Keir Starmer has now put Britain's shoulder behind. And I'm not surprised that the majority of British people, according to a recent opinion poll, it said 90% of the British people think this is the wrong move at this time to recognize a state of Palestine without conditions, leaving Hamas in power in Gaza without a single hostage being returned, removing any leverage there is over Hamas to end the war, to get rid of all its weapons, to disarm, and to remove and to restore the hostages to Israel. It's removed that leverage, so it's not surprising that the British people, who understand humbug when they see it and have a moral sense, are disgusted by this. And that's what Sir Keir Starmer has done. I don't think, if he thinks he's bought himself out of a problem, I think he's actually going to find that he's managed to secure a much bigger problem for himself.
Yes, I think so. Melanie, good to talk to you. Thanks very much indeed. Melanie Phillips there, talking to us from Jerusalem.
It's 2025. America's debt is over $37 trillion, and the dollar just had its worst crash since 1973. That puts your savings and your family's future at risk. That's why we trust Alpha Omega Gold, a company that stands unapologetically with Israel and supports Stand Tall Israel. Visit ao.gold/stand to claim your free precious metals wayfinder guide or call 1-855-426-4653 today. Protect your future before it's too late.